Oh, sorry. It should be recording now.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Maybe we give everybody one more minute just in case people had to go for a bio break, and then Erica, you can kick it off. Thanks.
Sounds good. Corolla, I love your picture that shows up for your profile picture. That's awesome. Cute little kiddo.
Thank you. That's my granddaughter.
Oh, even better. Oh. Is it a recent picture?
It's not. She's actually in first grade now, and with a few cameras pictures that we got her to smile for a number of years.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, should we jump into it, Rach?
Yeah,
Is
let's
that okay?
go. Yeah, go for it.
Awesome. Okay, well, hi friends. Rachel asked if I would just talk a little bit about some of the tech recruitment methods that we've used in Wisconsin. And I put together a couple slides. I know this is kind of a casual session, but I wanted to not lose track of what I wanted to tell you all and talk about. And this is just what's worked in Wisconsin. So I know all of our states are really quite different in terms of well, in terms of everything. Our states are all very, very different. So here's what we've been up to in Wisconsin. And if you have any questions as I'm talking, just interrupt me or put it in the chat box. I'll kind of keep an eye on it. I don't mind being interrupted whatsoever. And I think that interaction will make this more useful to all. So I'm Erica. I'm the Wisconsin EMS for Children program manager, and I see a lot of familiar names, faces, and some new people too. So if I haven't met you yet, nice to meet you virtually, and welcome to EMSC. Okay. So like I said, I'm talking about what works in Wisconsin. So I have a lot of humility. I know there's a lot of talented and a lot of passionate people in this program. So I humbly offer to you what has been helpful here in Wisconsin in terms of recruitment, building value to the pre-hospital PEC role and retention. I'm primarily going to speak about pre-hospital PECs because we haven't truthfully done, we need to replicate these pre-hospital efforts to our emergency department settings in Wisconsin. We haven't done a ton of great work with recruiting hospital-based PECs. So that's something I'd love to learn more from all of you about. So recruitment. So for us in Wisconsin, EMS PECs are not required. It is totally voluntary for an EMS agency to determine that they want to identify a PEC. So that's kind of one caveat to all of this. The reason that we've had to get a little creative is that we're in a state where our we really just don't have a lot of control over whether that PEC role becomes required in EMS agencies. It really feels quite out of my control and out of the control of our advisory committee right now. So we've really focused on what is in our control. So, but I'm just curious, maybe by show of hands, if you want to use the reaction to raise your hand and let us all know if are PECs required in your states. You can chat it, put it into the chat box, or just raise your hand to show whether or not PECs are required. No. So, okay, well, all right. Misery loves company. And so far I am feeling like I've got a lot of company in among some of our other states. So far I'm seeing no's, not required, no, only for receiving centers. Oh, and Indiana is a yes. Awesome. Great. So PEC roll is required in Indiana. That's great. All righty. So, build value. So I think this has been a pretty iterative process for us. I tried to sit down and think of like, what is the first thing we did when we tried to work on recruiting more PECs? But I think we keep kind of going round and round with a lot of these activities. Oh, Corolla said they have 85 out of 125 with PECs. That's awesome, Corolla. Volunteer champions. Great. Oh, and Dwayne asked about how are we all keeping track of our PECs once they're recruited? I can talk about that a little bit because it's been a problem for me, or not a problem. It's been a challenge for me too. And Morgan says PECs are not required but encouraged in Kentucky, and that you are also providing incentives to those that have PECs. Cool. After we identify a PEC, right away, we've been trying to make sure that we're feeding them things that have value so that they stay involved and engaged with the program. So I think one of the big things that we've done that's been successful is to hold quarterly virtual PEC meetings. So we do like an hour of education, and then we have a lot of time for networking. It's virtual, so of course that has its challenges, but the quarterly meetings have been key to bringing folks together, and we offer an hour of education, so that is gold to offer education. Our providers love to get free education. We also do a quarterly newsletter with different features from PECs and for PECs and other EMS partners. And in all transparency, I get a lot of my content from the EIIC Pulse for our Wisconsin newsletter. So, all of these things have really been like low cost or totally free for our program. So the quarterly meetings, we use virtual platforms. We do have to pay our Zoom subscription, so that's a small cost. And we generally have SMEs that volunteer to provide education on quarterly meetings. Our newsletter, we use MailChimp for our newsletter, and it's a very easy way to quickly disseminate information across all of our partners. And then we always prioritize our PECs whenever we have limited spaces for training or other like registration fee-based items. So whenever possible, we prioritize PECs so that they kind of have that extra leg up or a little bit more competition into getting slots in coveted education sessions. And then I think one of the great values to our PEC program in Wisconsin is the access to subject matter experts. Our just having open lines of communications. A couple times a week, I get clinical, technical questions that I'm not able to answer, but I have access now to a lot of subject matter experts through our advisory committee that, I'm able to forward questions from the rural EMS agency in northern Wisconsin to our EMSC advisory committee. And we've got we've been able to make some really good connections between the EMS agencies and SMEs and content experts on our advisory committee that are willing to maybe do just answer one-off questions or even provide lectures or more formal training opportunities to some of the EMS agencies. Okay. All right, and then as much as possible, I try to embed EMSC into regularly scheduled meetings. So just trying to get EMSC in front of our partners wherever and whenever possible. So at statewide town halls, at our statewide like trauma advisory council, regional coordinators meetings for the trauma regions, each of the trauma regions meetings, and then our healthcare coalitions. They all have regularly scheduled meetings, and whenever possible, I try to get some time on their agenda to give an update on where we are with like PEC recruitment numbers, If I'm doing a presentation or meeting in a specific region or county, I'll try to do a breakdown of the percentage of agencies that have PACs in their region. Give them some of that personalized data. So, you know, rather than trying to bring groups of people together to learn about PACs, just whenever we can take advantage of how people are already meeting, it's been really helpful. All right, and recognition. This has been a really fun part of the PAC program in Wisconsin. Whenever we can, we like to recognize our PACs, and it's a really fun part of the job for me, and the agencies really like it. So these are just 2 screenshots from different articles we posted on our website. We did a series where we interviewed local PACs. So we interviewed, I think over like 6 months, we interviewed about 10 PACs from across the state in different pre-hospital agencies and EMS agencies. And we just asked really
Thank you for being a champion for pediatrics.
I'm getting a little feedback. So just ask everyone to mute yourself if you're not talking. So yeah, for our newsletter, our website, we interviewed our PACs, and we sent an email out actually to every PAC in Wisconsin and said, hey, we want to highlight PACs. We want to showcase your work and your dedication to pediatrics. If you'd like to send us a picture and answer these few questions, we will do a little write-up on you and give you some recognition to your agency for having a PAC. So the questions we asked everyone, yours in the role, why do you work in EMS, and why did you become a PAC? And these stories just got a lot of hits, got a lot of interest, and we got a lot of traffic on our website because people just really, I think, appreciate that pat on the back. We also do an annual Pediatric Champion Award, which we announced during EMS Week. So that's another way to really recognize an EMS agency that went above and beyond for children. We come out and these are from the before times when I could come out to places, but we used to come out and bring plaques to EMS agencies and give them some recognition, take pictures. And then this is a post on our own social media, but the fire department reposted it. So it was cool to see those numbers kind of snowball as we got some more comments and shares on those posts. And then we also did an article recently on a couple different PACs that are very involved in injury prevention, and did a write-up on their efforts around injury prevention. And this was also posted to social media. We find that EMS agencies really like that if they can share. If we do the work of putting together the social media post, taking pictures and putting the content out there, they just absolutely love to be able to share that. And I think it's nice for us to make it easy by getting everything lined up for them. So really all they have to do is hit the share button once the posts are completed. Let's see, so I do see a message from Corolla asking whether we have an EMS recognition program in Wisconsin. We do not have a recognition program for EMS in Wisconsin. We have also taken advantage of the competitive nature of EMS providers. EMS providers are among the most competitive people I have encountered, and Tableau makes it really a great resource to kind of feed into that competition. So I like to share when I'm out at meetings. I like to share this view in Tableau. So this is, oh gosh, I'm not an eDarky, and so I'm going to forget exactly which report this is, but this is all of our EMS agencies in Wisconsin that have PACs. So I like to bring this and show this at meetings, and it really helps folks visualize where there are PACs. And when I've been out to northern Wisconsin and seeing this swath of our state with no PACs, it's really encourages folks, I think, to think about adding one in those areas. Also, something we started doing is whenever a new PEC is added, we publicize them on our social media, and then whenever we can, we tag the departments, and they love it. I think we tagged 2 departments in this post, and we got 3 shares. So I would guess Menominee and Stoddard shared it, and somebody else did too. So sharing on social media, that's been a great way whenever we recruit new PECs, just to keep it current, keep it in keep it in everyone's news feed, and then kind of show off those agencies that have added the role. All right, and then low hanging fruit, of course, when we do our EMS surveys and we get the reports back from NEDARC, those interested in PECs, we invite those folks to our our quarterly meetings to kind of give them a taste of what EMSC is like and what the PEC program in Wisconsin offers. And retention. So this is what Dwayne asked about, the contact list. Maintaining a good contact list for our PECs has been really challenging, since on the NEDARC survey, we find out if they have a PEC, but we don't find out who the PEC is. So how we have managed this in Wisconsin is we've developed an MOU for PECs, a Memorandum of Understanding. It's a form that's filled out on the Children's Helplines of Wisconsin website, which is my employer. The MOU indicates who the PEC is, that the service director is signing off on it, and then it just lists out some of the potential roles of the PEC. And there's like a statement that says, like, I commit to advocating for the emergency needs of children in this role. So anyways, they fill out that MOU, and their contact information is all on that MOU form. So I've developed a secondary spreadsheet where I manually pull from those MOUs onto my Excel spreadsheet who the PEC is for each agency. It's become a little complicated though, because I think Morgan mentioned that people can indicate who the PEC is in Kentucky's e-licensing. We have the same thing in Wisconsin, where when EMS agencies renew their license every 3 years, they can indicate short license. Oh my gosh, how long have I been muted, and how did I do that?
Just very briefly.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry.
It's okay. It was literally, I think, just a few words. You're okay.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know how I did that. I'm like, my hands are here. I'm not touching any buttons. Mercury is in retrograde. For those of you that follow that sort of thing.
It's always
so.
Mercury.
yeah, that's what it is for me usually. Yeah, so we've just had problems keeping contact lists up to date since I manually collect the contact information for the PECs. And every 3 years, the state EMS department collects some information for PECs. It's become really complicated to keep those lists up to date. If I had a magic wand, I would love it if we could add on the EMS survey the name of the PEC and their email address. That would make life a lot easier, I think. Thanks, Anna. But what I've done instead is regular email communications with my PEC list, so that when an email bounces back, that's kind of my alert that I need to go back to the EMS agency and figure out what happened if that person is no longer in the role. It hasn't been easy. It takes a lot of work to keep that list updated. And then, in terms of retention, just continuing to add value, sending resources to our PECs, giving them, when we have extra funding for, small pieces of equipment or something like that, making sure to keep the PECs in mind. And then also after every one of our quarterly PEC meetings, we do a short survey to get ideas on what they want education for at the upcoming sessions. So, just making sure that we're responsive to what the PECs actually want to learn about has been really helpful. And then also we have surveyed the PECs on, like what time of day do you want to meet? Do you want to have meetings during the day, or would you rather meet in the evening for the virtual meetings? For me, it was easier to meet during the day, but when we did the survey, everyone wanted to meet in the evening. So that's what we've been doing, and it's kind of helped to boost up attendance. So give the people what they want, give the PECs what they want. And and presents. Everyone likes presents. So we offer these resources. They're funded through HRSA. We offer them to every EMS agency. But for our pediatric emergency care coordinators, we're always reminding them that we have pediatric comfort kits to provide them that have tools and resources to soothe and distract kids. We have handy dandy reference cards that fit in a pocket. And then these are just two of our more recent handouts we put out, a handout on safe transport. And then this is heavily borrowed from Illinois and Michigan, the MIFC and EMS handout. So everyone likes presents. And I believe that is my last slide. So that's just a little bit about Wisconsin retention, recruitment, and what we've been working on. Thank you for having me. Does anyone have questions? Or I know the chat box was really fired up for a while there. So there's been a lot of good discussion that we've been having.
Yeah, really great presentation, Erica. Thank you. I was going to ask, and it kind of ties into Dwayne's question about keeping track. I know a bunch of people had been asking for lists of the PECs that had registered for this collaborative. And I believe Meredith sent a list out to everybody. She asked me if she needed to send an individual list to each state, and I let her know that that would be a lot of effort. So I hope you guys don't mind that she just sent one list that had to be filtered for each of you. But was that helpful in kind of looking through? Did you find new people that you didn't know about, or are you using it to communicate with anybody? Was that useful?
I didn't look at it carefully yet.
That's okay. That's okay.
So guilty.
I'm going to say yes. And I've looked at it both for the hospital and EMS participants to look at things like who they are, where they're from, things like that. I actually have it open now, but I'm also grateful to have the list through NEDARC about those agencies that have an interest in adding PECs or plan to add PECs, and looking at that to integrate or incorporate that into, upcoming activities, or, just reaching out to them to engage them. So those lists are helpful.
Good. Glad to hear it. And Anna, I see it would have been more helpful if you had more people joining. That's valid. Erica, Greg asks, where do you get your comfort kits? Is that something you're building within your program?
Yeah, so our comfort kits, we had a lot of carryover one year, and that's what originally funded the comfort kits. So the supplies are all from stores like Oriental Trading Post or like bulk online supply stores. We also have purchased some of the items from our hospital, and they've just provided them to us at cost. So it's about $35 per comfort kit. That's what it ends up costing the program. We got bouncy balls, squishy balls, light up wands, pacifiers, shop blockers, coloring stuff, books, all that kind of thing. Oh, and Corolla asked if we would share the comfort kit template with the group. Yes, I can. I'll put a link into the chat box that has a picture of the comfort kit and a list of everything on the kit. I know every once in a while we get comfort kit requests from out of state. And so usually we just would send one sample comfort kit. So if a hospital wants to see what they look like, they can see everything. But I will share the paper version of it with you all.
So for just to kind of open up the discussion, and again, thank you, Erica. That really was a great presentation. Did anything Erica mentioned kind of trigger a, well, that didn't work so well for us, but we tried this? You know, what kind of things have been working in your state, or are you kind of at a stumbling block? And I mean, open up the questions. You know, these are your peers, and we're all here to help and provide any feedback and ideas. So if you've got challenges you want to talk about, or success stories that might be a little bit different than Erica's, please post it in the chat or just unmute yourself and let us know.
Hey, this is Corolla. Well done, Erica. I think what I'm finding is, I think it's recognition is super important. People really want a pat on the back. It's trying to keep up. And I don't know if anybody else is kind of feeling that. There's so many irons in the fire, and it's trying to keep up. So right now we have 85 out of 120 some agencies, and they're all volunteer. We're actually recruiting 2 pediatric champions per EMS agency. Folks do like gifts. So the little gal that is in my office with me right now, we did a bunch of traveling, and I feel like, in all honesty, that I have a recipe card, and I have all the ingredients, and I've tossed them into the mixer. And I really also got, at the end of the day, guys, all I really want to make is chocolate chip oatmeal cookies. And the batter is flying everywhere, and we're just trying to get ahead of it. And Jamie stepped in. She says, I assure you, you know, we've got this under control. We are, you know, we've been able to, gifts for a huge thing. For our state, we have a pediatric safe transport. So we put together a kit that involves outside partnerships. And then we have within our state, we're very fortunate that we have safety and injury prevention grants. So we put a whole bunch of things together. We go out and teach, and then pull these folks together. While we have their attention, then we sign them up for their Pediatric Readiness Award. And so I've got about, I don't know, 10 irons in the fire, and I'm just trying to keep, I don't know, how do you guys keep up?
The silence means nobody's keeping up.
Well, I know it's, you know, I'm not whining per se. I really am not. I mean, it's a blessing, but it's like, oh my goodness, how do we keep up with this? You know, because it is exploding. And when you look at EMSC from when I came on board in 2014, 2015, nothing really was kind of making sense, I guess, if you will. And then all of a sudden, all these puzzle pieces came together, and now it's just exploded. And I feel like I'm imploding versus exploding.
Definitely hear you, Corolla. This is Anna. I definitely feel like we always joke about how many hats we wear, but I view it more as how many balls we're juggling, and you just need to figure out which ones are the glass balls and which ones are the plastic balls. You let the plastic ones fall and do your best to keep up with the breakable ones.
Hey, this is Eric. It is going to be difficult. We haven't implemented it here yet, but one of our challenges is who will manage it, who will keep up with it, who will make sure that it continues.
So Eric, do you feel like up to this point you've been making pretty good progress, but now you're at a point where it's now feeling overwhelming?
So there's been conversation about it. Right now, I have written it into our regulations. They do not go, they still have to go out for public comment and review and then still be approved. So we're probably not looking until 2022. And then it'll be a slow implementation. But I've explained to them that they can share PECs. You don't have to have a PEC at every single agency. That, you know, you can, you know, it's share a resource, and then when you're ready, get your own PEC, which we could probably do relatively easy here in New Jersey because we only have, I think there's about 18 advanced life support agencies. and a lot of them provide medical command and control for the basic life support agencies. So with that being said, it could be done if I can get them to buy into it. Now, once it becomes regulation, if they leave it in, it'll make life a lot easier, but because it'll be required. But there still needs to be somebody to manage it to make sure that they are actually doing it.
Eric, what's your plan then when you look at management with that? Is that something that I'm going to come out there with it? You know, $130,000 does not go a long way, folks.
No, it doesn't.
We all know that. And with that, you do need the opportunity to manage. A lot of folks think that within South Dakota that, you know, I have all of this. I have two gals working underneath of me, which is not the case. They are on separate injury prevention grants. And it looks like that, but it's not. So again, it's about management, but then take into consideration, you know, just what it is for benefits, to have benefits and to pay a FTE. The benefits, you know, you do have to have someone to help manage it. What does that look like? Okay, Rachel, where's the money at? Show me the money, Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, it would be really a lot of the programs, of course, you know, rely on the grant funding just to provide an EMSC program manager, which leaves no other funds available for any other projects. New Jersey, we're a little bit different. I have my salary is partially funded through the grant, so I have some funds through the grant that I can use with other projects, but I surely don't have enough funding in that grant to hire a full-time resource to assist with the program. I have somebody currently that helps me here in the office and take on some of the projects, you know, like the surveying the hospitals and EMS agencies and things like that, that I can, you know, he can focus on. But it is very difficult with $130,000. You know, I mean, it's been that way for, oh, I don't know, since what, 2009, 2010. I think before that it was only $110,000. So, and New
we
Jersey.
were so excited to get just 20,000.
I know. We were very excited to get that extra funding. And you know, priorities shift too, and focuses shift within government and within the finances. And you know, 25 years ago, you know, or longer, when EMSC became a law in New Jersey, it was funded at $500,000. So there was money for salaries and money, and now I think we're at 50,000. So, and that's where we're at. So we truly do need more money. It's not, I mean, people say that and we all kind of laugh, but to get the programs done and the projects done, you know, outside of collaboration, which I'm really good at building those bridges now, because that seems to be the only way you can really kind of get to the end line. It's difficult without the funding.
Yeah, and you know, it's in thinking about that funding, it's amazing looking at everything you are all accomplishing with so little, and what you would be able to do with more. I think it would be incredible. But I mean, really kudos to all of you guys for doing what you do with so little funding. I obviously can't help with that part of it, but in thinking about what we can help with, are there any sort of marketing resources, recruitment concepts that we can help with, like any sort of templates or thoughts on what EIIC can do to kind of help you guys not recreate the wheel, or kind of spend time doing something that maybe could be created kind of on a national level to be shared and tweaked to your own needs?
Rachel, this is sort of tangential. What would be so right now the EIC sort of has regional state partnership program leaders, right? So Vicki Barnes is ours up in the Northeast region. What would be the availability of being able to hire regional PEC managers? So their main job, I'm feeling very overwhelmed by having to update my CLEMS list right now. If there was somebody that covered New England that could help me reach out and get updated data either via the EIC or NEDARC, right? We have our TAs, but with the possibility of an increase in the general EMSC funding, we may be able to get some sort of support staff, let's say, to keeping contact list information updated and helping to contact PECs or updating PEC information. And that might be a workaround too. We've been talking about adding a question in the EMSC survey, asking what the PEC's name is and their contact information. That might be something that, if we can't get the question on the survey itself, we could have someone following up with those that do have an answer that they have a PEC to reach out and get that information.
I wrote it down. I will make that recommendation to the people who get paid more than me.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. That's a great idea, an interesting concept.
If there's one thing I've learned in the 19 or whatever months I've been here, is that there's 50 states and 7 territories that have state partnerships, or it should have. So there's 57 partners and there's 60 ways of doing something, because there's so many differences in each state's makeup and both within EMSC and EMS systems, that I've learned that just being able to see what works, for example, with Erica and her interviews with PECs, and promoting it by kind of featuring that individual, that the other people within the state may know them or can relate to them and say, hey, that's what I do, or that's what I'd like to do, or we need to have that. And so it saves me some brain power in trying to figure out what I can do when I can learn what other people are doing, and from their successes or from their failures. So that's a bit of a time saver on my part, knowing that, everyone else in my role is just as overwhelmed, and some may have some support, either financially or personnel, but others, and most of us, are working individually. And yeah, we do feel overwhelmed at times, and the priorities, need to be juggled around. Last year, I was working on EMS updates for CLEMS in September. This year, I might get to start it in the end of October because of other priorities. And, I think I did a good job of getting it updated last year, that there'll be less this year, but I know I'm challenged because close to 1,000 EMS agencies, there's been a lot of changeover in 365 days.
Especially this year.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're doing in South Dakota is we have a website, and then with that website, we have both EMS and ED sign-up sheets where they go in and they sign up to be a pediatric champion. And of course, we're not doing anything, I guess, the way that we're supposed to. So we're looking at school nurses. So for our EMS, for primary example, we're looking at EMS, we're looking at non-transport agencies, we're looking at emergency managers, we're looking at law enforcement, and to have each of those folks sign up as an individual or designated pediatric champion. From there, that information, we take it and it goes into a binder, but before it goes into a binder, then we put it into a spreadsheet. And speaking back to the whole entire group, where you have the difficulty is keeping up with those people, because it's evolutionary and there's new people. And like Erica said, I like the idea of regular contact with folks. And when you have regular contact and you have an email bounce back, that's probably a good indication you should reach out, most likely because there's been a turnover of some sort. That's part of the reason we're encouraging a lot of our services to reach out and have 2 designated pediatric champions. Very tough when you have rural frontier agencies that have four people or 6 people, and you've already taken up 2 of them, but it's a good support for them to be able to work together. So I think we're all on the right track. It's just Anna said it very gracefully, rubber balls basically get to hit the ground and the glass ones you handle with care.
So Anna, you mentioned something about the EMSC survey and getting a new field, identifying the name. I'm kind of surprised that's not in there now. Can you talk to that? Is that something you've been asking NEDARC for?
Sure. Yeah. So one of my fellow program managers had brought up the idea, and a couple of us had chatted via chat, I think during the all grantee meeting. And we've reached out, and I feel like it's just been a hard no from everybody, which is not something I'm willing to accept because it doesn't seem that hard, right? I'm naive to building surveys, but if we can ask, do they have a PEC? Then why can't we just add a question that says, please, fill in the information? And it doesn't need to be a required question, but I'm more of the sort, if you're going to ask me for something, I'll say yes, but we need to figure out how to do that. And it just seems only natural to me that it would take so much off program managers' desks to have that information in the NEDARC survey, right? Instead of having, I have to say I'm lucky in New Hampshire, we have about 250 agencies, but if I've got a third of those saying, yes, they have a PEC, and another third of those saying they're working on a PEC, for me to reach out to all of those agencies individually to get the name of that person to try to make contact with them is so much work, in addition to just keeping up the contact information. It's like somebody says, it's just an evolving process and it's a moving target. I think that was Dwayne had said it was a moving target, and it really is. It's,
yeah,
we just, I'm laughing at the idea of updating my clems in the next 2 weeks. And yeah, just to have that as a question in the survey. I mean, most of the folks who are taking the survey are the PEC themselves, so it should be pretty easy for them to fill it out. So my colleagues and I are going to get together and talk more about that. And Rachel, you're more than welcome to join that conversation because you're really on.
Yeah, could you keep me in the loop on that one?
Absolutely. I'm not really sure where we're going to go with that because I feel like we've gotten a hard no from NEDARC and HRSA. But I'm willing to, have a conversation about how we can work around that, and I don't have to reach out to 100 agencies to find out who their PEC is because I only have 86 listed or whatnot.
Yeah. Oh, and then you times that by 10 for places like Pennsylvania and Texas.
Yeah. And then all
California.
the changing contact information too. I'm on a rabbit chase right now, just trying to get a contact point at an EMS agency. And I'm right now going through that agency's medical resource hospital, who's also having a hard time, who's going through the local ALS system that transfers. I mean, the idea of doing that for more than 0 agencies is a big pain in the butt. So yeah, there should be an easier way to do this, especially as PECs become, I feel like a larger pillar of the EMSC program. There's going to be obviously some growing pains, but there's got to be an easier way of sharing that information.
Yeah. So I'd like to be able to help you push that forward if possible, and find a solution if it's not, for some whatever reason, putting it in the actual survey, maybe a redirect when they're done to something that's not officially from the government saying, can you provide this information? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting. Okay. Yes, Morgan, this is recorded.
Does this become, are you seeing, Anna, where this is PII information that we're protecting? I have a lot of folks that are pediatric champions. They've signed up to become a pediatric champion, and probably shame on me not having a great recognition program or still fumbling with that. And they don't even realize that they're a pediatric champion when they're filling out the document for NEDARC as far as the survey. Or the question is evasive, or it's not clear. I use the word pediatric champion for my EMS agencies, and for my EMS services or my EDs, I use pediatric emergency care coordinators. So
my understanding is it's more technical, actually inserting the question into the survey that's sent. I don't think it's in information issues, and it could be delivered like all the NEDARC information is, where it's filtered to your state when you sign into Tableau. And I don't, I mean, I'm sure there's some bureaucratic hurdles that we would have to get over to getting that information, but we have that, theoretically, we should have that information anyway, right? So I'm not sure that it's a privacy situation. I'm going to try to track down the email I got most recently and see if I can cherry pick some reasons as to why they felt like they couldn't do it, so that I can bring it back to y'all.
Hey, Rachel, this is Greg. I wanted to circle back to your offer of resources. Does anybody use like a job description for the PEC to describe what their responsibilities would be doing, that's like a template, or does the EIIC have something like that?
Yes, that's a great segue to what I was going to share and then got distracted by lists.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. So on the EIC page under QI collaboratives, there's this PEC COP for our community of practice. It's kind of on hiatus right now while we're going through this collaborative. Under resources and for program managers, the very first section, here's that news release that Wisconsin posted that Erica shared earlier. And then this recruitment material section is a lot of kind of flyers from states trying to talking about what a PEC is, how to establish it. And then some of those kind of go also indicate roles and responsibilities. The best kind of job description is this Louisiana one. Oh, that's right. It's like a Word document that Louisiana worked on with their EMSC advisory committee, and I think partially funded with the targeted issues grant that they have right now. So yeah, this kind of lists a whole bunch of stuff that I've been able to locate on people's web pages. If your state's not listed here and you have something I could add, please forward it to me. Not a lot, but I think a lot, something to start from. And again, you know, this group is so great with sharing what's already been created. So if you see something from one state that you really like, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to send you a Word document that you can steal and slap your own logo onto. This also includes a few toolkits that people have put together, some training resources that are actually more training resources for PECs, and PEC specific web pages. And Erica, it looks like maybe I need to include your nice web page on here as well. And then if anybody wanted to kind of look at what EMS recognition programs look like across the states, there's a whole list of the ones I know about on here as well.
Rachel, the one thing from the Learning Collaborative that, you know, a few of us were part of, the job description as a title got introduced and was rolled out as an individual. And there was a lot of conversation and pushback about having a specific job description of a PEC because the variation and capability of different EMS agencies and the need. So that, I think, if I remember correctly, and someone can adjust my statement, I believe we kind of threw out, quote, the word job description, and that's where roles came in. And so it, you know, you characterized what a PEC did and not defined through a job description in too much specificity of what they did.
Yeah, exactly. I think at your level, that's a really good point, that you want to look at more of like kind of maybe this pick list of things a PEC could do in an agency, and then the agency can take that and create the job description for their PEC, whether that be a PEC for their region, a PEC for their agency, or whatever. But yeah, there was a whole thing at the beginning of the Learning Collaborative because both the EMSC survey and the performance measure indicated one individual, and that created a lot of confusion in the survey. And then as we were rolling out the collaborative, because we knew it didn't make sense that not every agency was going to be able to have one. So that has been updated. I hope it was more clear in the 2020 survey. I think it was. And yeah, Corolla champions, exactly. The whole concept of PEC can also be confusing. New Mexico's gone that way as well. Catherine was part of the Learning Collaborative, and she held a bunch of focus groups. And one of the first things they looked at is what should the title be? And most people in the focus groups kind of had an aversion to the concept of the words pediatric emergency care coordinator, and they felt that pediatric champion more represented what they were going for. So we've tried to use the two terms interchangeably, and I hope that's not confusing when we do that, but for that exact reason, because you're not the only state that's gone that way for the concept of champion. And Anna, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I found the email. I just want to make sure y'all have a time to close this discussion before I go back to the previous one.
Yes, I think so. Go for it.
Okay, so from Mike Ely, he said he loves the idea of getting the information. So just to remind y'all, it's the information on the actual who is the PEC and their contact information during the yearly EMSC survey. He says it's simply not a realistic possibility for 2022. And that's because any change to the survey has to have federal OMB approval, which is a lengthy process. And there's some issues with programming testing the survey that just wouldn't be able to be done by this upcoming assessment. He says he is happy to discuss other ways of possibly obtaining the data for agencies, which is sort of, I think, what our little side group is discussing right now, or maybe integrating this type of questions for future survey processes. So it sounds like there may be a possibility for 2023, but 2022, it's just not an option just because of time. So I was comforted by that. I feel like the door is at least open. It's just a matter of doing it in a amenable and quick as possible sort of process. So I think if we keep the conversation open, we can get there eventually.
Yeah, it would be great to figure out a stopgap for 2022 so you don't have to wait another year and a half for that information.
Sure would be nice.
Yeah.
I think it would
Hey,
ease
Rachel.
everybody's struggles with keeping their information updated too, if you had automatic access to all the PEC information or contact information from the early or beginning of the year assessment. It'd just be a lot easier, I think, to update this time around, or this time of the year, updating the contact list information system.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, I don't mean to put you on the spot if you're still on, but having the EIC host your PEC website and having that registration form, has that helped you track your PECs?
Easiest way I can put it is yes and no.
Of course. Isn't everything that way?
One thing that we've found that we don't really have any control over and can't track otherwise is when somebody, stops being a PEC, leaves their current position, goes to a different agency, does, in any way, kind of removes themselves from it, because unless they tell us, we don't know. And so they're still listed, as registered on the site, but we find out from other sources, or, like, was said before, if you send out emails and something bounces, or, things like that. What we've been looking at doing is just kind of an annual, sort of reaffirmation for the folks that are on the list. So at a minimum, what we want to do is do, one email at the end of the year and say, congratulations, you've made it to 2022. Are you still your agency's PEC, and was their agency, and whatever, and just have them send us back a yes I am, or no I'm not, so that we can then go through and clean that up. But like other folks have said too, it's time consuming to go through all that, to do that, to verify it, to upgrade it all, to update all the information and deal with that. So it's something you got to do, but You know, it would be nice if we weren't surveying on an annual basis, because then I could do that every other year and work that in and have the time frame to work out. But that's a whole different argument to bring up.
Yeah. I hear you.
But yeah, that's I would say, you know, we've liked the experience with EIIC hosting that site. I think that you know, has been very beneficial. Kind of using the registration for the page itself as kind of that entry point has been, you know, has helped it be easier for us to be able to track and be able to follow and be able to see who's on there. But the maintenance after that point does get to be a slog. So,
Sure.
you know, there's no way around it. Somewhere in there, it involves data entry, data cleaning, and those things are some of the least fun things you ever do in your entire life. So,
Right. Yeah, well, on that note, if anybody needs, if you don't have a very good way of having a website or updating web stuff, EIC can host one for you, whether it be just PEC related or your full EMSC program. Greg, I think I might have interrupted you if you still had a question or something to say as folks start dropping off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just going to bounce off of what Anna said about getting the PEC information. Is that being added to the PEDS Ready pre-hospital survey that's going to release in 2024?
You know, I will make sure that is there if it hasn't been added already. So yeah, that's a really great point. Because if everything will have to be rebuilt then and go through the approval process. So if it's such a challenge for NEADARC to do it right now or in the next couple of years, we'll definitely get it added into that survey.
Yeah, that's cool.
Great point.
Thanks.
All right, Renee, I will send you Joe's website link. And thank you everybody so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope this was a valuable session for you. And Meredith will send all the information out when this is posted up on the web for those of you who might have been a little bit distracted during it. So thank you, and have a great rest of your Thursday and happy almost weekend. Take care, everyone.